Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories where I go over them, analyze them, and on occasion, make fun of them. Today, I'm going to go over a story titled, My Husband, a 30-year-old male, and my affair partner met, and I don't know if it saved our marriage or destroyed it. And guys, this story I'm going to go over definitely falls in the category of one of the weirder stories I've done in a while. In fact, you're going to see as we get deep into this story why I named this channel They Did What? And more appropriately for this story, He Did What? Because actions are going to be done in this story here that are going to make you really say, is this true or not? And sometimes I do have to question this, but you just never know in life, and you never know with people. Truth is stranger than fiction. But pretty much, guys, in this story, this woman had an affair, and after a while, she ended it, and eventually came clean to her husband. And ultimately, you're going to see that the husband arranges things that he actually meets the guy she had the affair with, because this guy couldn't let it go, couldn't get out of his head, and he didn't know who he was, what he looked like, all these things. And he made sure that the wife was there to see it and bear witness to all this. It's definitely odd. And you'll see more, definitely the odd part of it as I get into the story. Definitely an interesting one. And I will let you guys determine in the comment section whether indeed you think it is real or complete BS. Because you never know. So it starts off, it says, just as the title says, yesterday was a day that I will never forget. Please excuse the length of this post. Believe it or not, I took some parts out to cut down the length. Anyway, I would appreciate any insight or advice that anyone could offer regarding my situation. For some context, I, a 37-year-old female, have been with my husband for 21 years and married for 10. Last year, I had a physical affair with a man for 3 weeks, though we'd been in contact for several months. Eventually, my conscience couldn't take it, and I came clean. Needless to say, my marriage was shattered. After some time and reflection, my husband and I made the decision to work it out, though it has been rocky the last couple months that took a turn yesterday. Well, who really made the decision here? At that point, the husband has the control here of the future of the relationship. Because obviously she did it. She confessed. Obviously was very sorry, I hope. He's the one that controls the relationship. I just hope he realizes this. My husband took me to a hotel resort. In my mind, this was a big opportunity to connect on an emotional level without the little ones and maybe physically as well. Anyway, after 10 minutes or so in the room, I heard a knock at the door, and it was my affair partner and his friend. I was not expecting that. As soon as I saw him, I felt sick to my stomach and started to cry. It is amazing every time when there's not all else fails, the crocodile tears. The only thing I wanted was to leave the hotel and be somewhere else. Well, that'd be a mistake. My husband took me aside and explained to me that he hired a private investigator and tracked him down. He found out where he lived, which I didn't even know, and asked to meet. Had he refused to meet, my husband told him that he would go to his house and reveal everything to his fiancée, which I also didn't know he had. He wanted to know everything about our affair, everything from how often we met to physical characteristics to the sex itself. Of course, I told him how the affair got started and things like that, but I was hesitant to talk about my affair partner and made me feel, and of course, about the sex. Well, you want to save your marriage? You better open up and let this husband know everything he wants to know. And talk about some balls in the husband here. He pretty much cornered that guy who's nailing his wife and said, hey, you do this, otherwise I'm going to reveal everything to your fiancé and your toast. She says, I've avoided doing so because of the shame and embarrassment that I felt. But in all honesty, the main reason was that I didn't want to hurt my husband anymore. He's always been a bit sensitive about his body and our sex life in general. After I came clean on the affair, I've been seeing a therapist. She told me that when it comes to infidelity, men tend to focus more on the physical aspects of the affair, at least more so than the women. That is true. That is definitely a true statement. A lot of times, when it comes to the therapist and the couples therapist and all that, I'm always definitely a little wary of that. But that is true. Guys are going to immediately focus on the physical, while women are more concerned about the emotional connection. That's why to a lot of women, a guy having a friendship with another woman and just talking about different things can deeply bother her because of the emotional connection. It says here, the reason I didn't talk didn't walk out of the hotel room is because my husband told me that he needed closure and needed to better understand. Basically, had I walked out the door, our marriage was as good as over. When he said to me that, when he said it to me, and the look in his eyes, I had never seen him be so serious, so I stayed. Yeah, he was laying down the law. It's his way or the highway. This is an example, guys, of when a woman knows a man will walk away if she pushes him too far or is whatever. He's in the driver's seat. That's why for your relationship, guys, you got to understand that even though it sounds a little cruel, it's always better to have her more into you than you into her. And that keeps you in the driver's seat. But to be honest, that's what they want anyway. Because if a guy, it's the opposite, where the guy, he's more into her, more into the relationship, puts her on the pedestal and treats her like she's a goddess, it doesn't end well. Okay, she loses respect for the guy. Women want a guy they can look up to who's a leader. It is what it is. It's human nature. It's how we're all designed. There are people who disagree with me on this on many levels, different reasons, but I've lived long enough. In my almost 44 years on this planet, I've learned plenty. Anyhow, long story short, the conversation was soul-crushing. My affair partner asked his friend to wait outside the door, and he told my husband everything. He explained to him how we came in contact, for how long, when we decided to make it physical, how often, when, and where. Basically, there really wasn't anything that wasn't covered. As I mentioned earlier, he told my husband things that I had already told him before, but made sure to leave out no details. However, I think the worst part was when my husband asked him why he pursued me. Apparently, we went to the same high school, though we never met. My husband and I are high school sweethearts, so I wasn't hanging out with the boys during that time. He was my first everything, so when he saw my picture on social media, he contacted me and we took it from there. So it's amazing how social media, Instagram, Facebook, all that really just made affairs and cheating go through the roof with the ease to reach out to people and vice versa. When my husband pressed him on why me, he said I was a pretty face with a great rack. He said that from our conversations, he felt like I was sexually frustrated and he wanted to nail me. Basically, he lied to me every step of the way just to have you know what with me. Hey, don't put the blame on this guy. You participated, lady. Be accountable. Destroyed wouldn't begin to describe how I felt. After there weren't any more questions, my husband asked me to wait in the balcony and he talked with the other man. After a short conversation, he went to the bathroom and my husband joined me. He began telling me how the private investigator followed him for 2 weeks and found out that he was engaged to a woman who comes from a family that's well off. That's why he doesn't want to screw it up. If you can hear birds, guys, right out over here is a bazillion seagulls out here, and there's some old guy throwing them breadcrumbs. There's a huge parking lot here, but he chooses to park right here, throw breadcrumbs to a bunch of seagulls out here. I'm near the ocean. I'm in Massachusetts, for those who don't know, north of Boston. The ocean isn't far away. The whole parking lot here, and he's got to go right here next to where I'm filming and throw all these breadcrumbs on the ground for the seagulls. Anyhow, I had to get that out. I can see this whole thing going on in front of me. Anyway, we talked about how she was probably his meal ticket and how it's a pretty high chance that I was not his first affair. Anyway, we talked about the horrible conversation that took place. After a while, I don't remember how long it was, but my affair partner finally came out of the bathroom wearing a robe. And this is where it's going to get really weird, guys. After my husband and I walked back in, he disrobed and was completely naked with a full-on erection. What the hell? I told you this is bizarre. I told you this would qualify for the they did what. I quickly turned away, but my husband just kept looking at him. After what seemed like forever, he told the man to get dressed and that if he ever sees him near me again, he will rat him out to his wife and wife-to-be and do everything he could to make his life miserable. So he left. You want to talk about, if this is true, you want to talk about a lot of control, making the guy get butt naked, and now the question is why did he do it? You're going to see here. I was shocked to say the least. Later on, my husband said that he gave him 2 Viagra pills because he wanted to see how big his you-know-what was because I wouldn't tell him. Dude, that's taking a bit too far here. He obviously just wanted to humiliate him. He wanted to know if he still measured up, and that now he knows the answer and started to cry, which made me cry as well. He then told me that he was a pig who uses people. He did not say that he is glad that he got to meet him because he made him realize how neglectful he was towards me and how it put me on the path to a man like that. It sounds like this guy, this husband of hers, obviously is in very good shape. He's not very confident in his body and his performance in the bed and all that. But that doesn't excuse what she did. But the husband needs to obviously get in shape, change his diet, go join a gym, start lifting. 1 year of that, totally transform his body and his confidence. I made sure to take responsibility for the affair, but my husband was having none of it. He vowed to be a better father, a better friend, and a better husband. And here I am. To be honest, I couldn't sleep last night. We ended up coming back home. I wouldn't dare stay in the hotel room. The thing is, I don't know how I feel about what happened. If you told me last year that my husband was capable of doing something like this, going to these lengths, I wouldn't have believed you. And one could argue, okay, on the one hand, it shows our husband's tough and he's got some balls to make a guy do this. On the other hand, it shows that he's got a kind of a creepy side here. Take your pick. So does anyone have any advice? I do love him very much, but I wonder if the damage is too great. Not just to our SEX life, but our relationship as a whole. Is this something that we can come back from? Any help would be appreciated. Well, my opinion, which I share all the time in both this channel and my other channel, is that once a cheater, always a cheater. She obviously was unhappy for all those different things and stepped out. End of story. And I don't want to hear that guy pressed it and all that stuff. She made the choice to do this. But for me, I would say that it should be ended. Because he's never going to get over this. He's always going to be thinking about this. He even saw the guy, saw his sausage, and he's going to have that in his head if that guy's sausage is bigger than his. Now, I did say the guy can join a gym, get on a diet, lose weight, make his body look better, more appealing. Okay, that can be done. Don't just wallow in your own sorrow and say, woe is me, not do anything about it. But still, regardless of that, this guy, whenever he gets romantic with his wife, if he stays with her, he's going to be imagining this dude. He's going to be imagining him butt naked in his rock solid, you-know-what down there. And he's never going to trust her. Every time she's on the social media or her phone or texting, he's going to be thinking about this. Okay? It's just how it is. And also that from her perspective, it sounds like the guy obviously got some issues and stuff like that. And if this guy's kind of going off the deep end, she's not going to respect him. So for the sake of each other and the kids, because if they stay together and they're both unhappy and not trusting each other, you can't have a relationship without trust, let alone a marriage. It's best to end it, because those kids will grow up in a household where the mom and dad don't love each other. There's a lot of disdain. There's a lot of ill will. And that's going to rub off on the kids. And the kids will think, well, that's normal. And they'll be in relationships just like that as they get older. That's usually how it goes, because our greatest influence are our parents, whether we want to admit it or not. That sets the precedent on how we handle our adult lives. So it's best in a bad situation like that they part ways, work on themselves, and hopefully have normal relationships that the kids can observe. Otherwise, the kids can be doomed. I've witnessed this many times throughout my life. But anyhow, guys, like I told you, get back into it. Crazy. I wasn't kidding when I told you this should be, he did what? Got the guy to freaking strip down, all that. And whether this is true or not, who knows? Flip a coin. Because, again, there's a lot of crazy things out there, but there have been crazier things that people have done. But anyhow, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below and what you think about this. And, guys, like I said before many times, if you come across a really great story that you'd like me to share, whether it's a personal story, something nuts that you've been through or experienced, or a story you came across online, by all means, email it to me. And if it works, I'll definitely do it in a future video. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.